MECHRANIUM Voice Acting presents Warhammer 40,000 GLOOM Walkers. GLOOM Walkers is a short story about the Dark Krakens, a salamander successor chapter hailing from a night-bathed all-water death world known as Noctis. Inexorable as the tide, souls tempered in the Prometheum forge, skin as hard as iron and ice. We are the crushing riptide of the Emperor's will, for the Imperium, for the Dark Krakens, for Vulcan. Even with the enhanced autosenses built into his helmet, and the augmented vision of a space marine, Lexicanum Uari could barely see a thing advancing along the bed of the Mirror Sea. Visibility was reduced to a few meters. All he could make out in the environment was small rocks, ugly diminutive animals, and the sand puffing up around the ground as he stepped his armored boots forward. The only things clearly distinguishable in the endless gloom were the bioluminescent symbols painted onto his armor and that of his fellow Dark Krakens. The chapter's colors of black and deep purple made the warriors almost invisible in this darkness, but the symbols many daubed on their armor glowed all the brighter. He identified Techmarine Erewhon by the images of a stylized anemone that were part cog. He identified Sergeant Mohisi by the hammerhead symbol painted on the back of his right leg and left knee plate. Both bore many more images than these, and Sergeant Mohisi wore more than any other battle brother in his squad. Even with his power armor compensating for it, Uari still felt cold through to his augmented bones. Though he could smell the recycled air within his armor, it could not entirely filter out the salty tang of the water. Though there was little Uari could see, he could hear much more. Closest was the gentle thump of his battle brother's steps. From further away came the keening calls of creatures of the Mirror Sea. Thanks to his affinity with wild beasts, Uari could decipher the mourning cries for missing mates, aggressive territorial claims, and the tactical chatter of pack-hunting sea creatures. But to anyone else listening, they were little more than snarls and long-noted songs. Uari's limbs were heavy in water due to the crushing pressure of the sea. A handful of amber warning runes for external oxygen and his atmo-pressure augury shimmered in the peripheral of his autosenses. Uari, Erewhon, and the heavy intercessor squad of Sergeant Mohisi advanced slowly to a large Prometheum extraction hub set onto the seabed. Its surface-based access points had been destroyed when warriors of the Wolfspear chapter caused an avalanche that had plunged it into the Mirror Sea, which in turn caused a tsunami that tore over the great swath of the sea's surface.
How far are we from the hub?
Uari projected into Sergeant Mohisi's mind.
300 meters.
It could have been 1,000 miles, based on the sheer blackness of the deep, Uari could see.
And there has been no contact from it?
None, Lexicanum. Not even from Kill Team Galileo.
The Dark Krakens knew the Death Watch had already deployed to the hub and planned to link up with them once they were inside. Their progress was slow. Every step and gesture the Dark Krakens made in the deep water appeared as if it happened in slow motion. In this kind of terrain, the Dark Kraken's incredibly high reactions would be tempered by the water. The Space Marines had to be skilled in predicting where attacks would come from so they could react in time. With each warrior in the formation given a strict sector to cover, they could be confident that an attack from any direction could be met in time. Though the Dark Krakens carried auspexes, it was impossible to tell if a creature found on it was hostile or otherwise. The Dark Krakens had made themselves experts in fighting on seabeds, but they all acknowledged that this was not their home. It was that of the predators who dwelled here, which had millions of years of evolution to perfect them for it. Uari heard different sounds. He heard the creature's fear, pain, anger, bloodlust. He felt a change in the water flow. It moved against him at speed, in a different direction to the current. There were creatures not far away, spearing through the water.
That one was close,
said Brother Aronius.
What was it?
Asked Uari.
Eel of some kind. 5 meters long, jaws long enough to wrap around one of my greaves. Brushed past. Threat non-immediate.
It was probing,
said Uari. More creatures drew closer to the dark Krakens now. Uari could not just hear them, he could feel them. Many were curious about the strange beings that had invaded their domain. All were hungry. That was given for the monsters of the gloom. Most were wary, but some were hungrier and more daring than the others. Sudden movements in the water and the feeling of a determination to kill caused Uari to stop.
One of them is coming!
He closed his eyes and reached out physically for the creature's mind. He found it. It was powerfully aggressive, steeped in an insatiable desire for blood and meat. It was a dominant creature, a king in these waters. It was only 10 seconds away from him. Uari battled for control of his mind. He thrust his will like a blade into the crimson maelstrom of his thoughts to sever the beast's intentions. He attacked them over and over, trying to force his way through. The beast's hunger was almost implacable. The creature was 5 seconds away. Uari gritted his teeth, grunting with the effort. Blood dripped from his nose. Finally, he forced a breach in the animal's mental wall. He bore through it, smashing it wide with psychic power. When the beast turned away at Uari's behest, it was so close that it was low enough over the Space Marines' heads to reach up and touch. Uari looked up. It was the size of a Thunderhawk gunship. Brother Owengear let out a whistle over the box. Uari panted with exhaustion. When he sensed another creature coming for the attack, Uari knew he lacked the mental strength now to stop it physically. Raising his hands, he parted the water around the animal, and it flopped to the soggy seabed, convulsing in the confusion and terror as it suddenly was out of water. A dark kraken fired a burst of Hellstorm bolt rifle fire. The normally booming thumps were muffled by the sea, and the bolts drove through the water like miniature torpedoes. They continued on their path through the writhing body of the beast and detonated in an explosion of gore. Uari immediately let the waters unfold in shredded flesh. I am sorry, noble creature, thought Uari. He never wished death on any beast like this. He was glad it was too dark to see the slain animal. It was a tragedy that you should have fallen in such a manner, thought Uari. But as I cannot take your life, you cannot take mine or my brother's. For all that, he could not help but admire the Tech Marine's skills in fashioning bolt rounds that were so effective beneath the waves. Another creature surged towards the dark Krakens. Uari could tell it was a large brute, larger than the monster they had driven away earlier. As quickly as it charged, it turned away. He sensed suddenly its wash of fear. Strange. Brothers, be aware. A very powerful creature has been scared away by something, and it was not any of us.
We have 200 meters left to advance,
said Brother Mohisi.
Multiple Auspex ratings,
said Brother Kuari.
Stay alert, but do not slow down,
replied Mohisi. Seconds later, Uari saw some of his battle brothers fire as well as the bubble trails of the unleashed bolts.
Tyranids!
Shouted Brother Kawari,
Scores!
followed by Brother Oingir.
Why can't I sense them?
Thought Uari. He had no idea the Xenos were attacking. When he tried to reach out through the deep to find them and where they might be coming from, he felt blocks and barriers.
Are these deliberate actions of intelligence, or merely natural part of their biology?
The only way Uari knew the Tyranids were there was because Mohisi's squad were firing at them. He saw the creatures in the light of the bolter's strobing muzzle flare. They were like hormigons, only their rear legs were fused together into fins. Though he could not see it, he knew the gore and viscera would be filling the water all around them, attracting all manner of creatures. At least they will attack the Xenos and not us, he thought.